Hello, welcome to a Hasblog kind of video thing that I've been thinking about type stuff. Middle last week you may have seen an audio booth that I threw out that I didn't put on the blog, where I was thinking about receptacles and the way that we drink coffee and the things that we drink them out of and how that can change the perceptions of taste. I remember many years ago going to a coffee tasting where we actually did some tasting with some wine glasses, and it did really change the perception of taste, but I never really thought any more about it. And then kind of had this thought last week, and then it was my birthday Saturday, and Shay, my son, bought me this, which is an absolute bucket of a mug. I love it. I mean, I love it dearly, and I love the Mr. Man as well, so he knows how to push all the right buttons for the things to buy his old dad. But really timely, because, you know, what we drink out of really does change the way that we perceive the taste, and the way that what tastes are highlighted and what aren't so much, just the same as we do brewing. So I've had a collection of these Riedel glasses for a little while. I've borrowed these ones from our friends at Old School Wines, Andrew Wilson and Claire Wilson, who run a wine store in Stoke-on-Trent, which they sell our coffee and I drink as much of their wine as I possibly can. So they're very kindly lent me these ones because they have all the names on, which I think really helps with trying to work out what's happening with the tastes. But I have a collection of these myself at home, and they really do work. The way that it can present, I mean, my biggest one was, the first one I ever bought was this burgundy one, and it just opens up those flavours. And, you know, for a wine like burgundy, there's an awful lot of complexity going on in there. That's absolutely stunning for it. So I've kind of wondered, what would this do to coffee? I don't know the answers to this. This is completely off the cuff. I've never done it before, apart from the wine tasting, kind of wine glass tasting I did many years ago. And oh, don't you beep? I tell you, that's nothing but beep today. It's a pain. So it'll be interesting to see, if anything, the different shapes do anything, and kind of, you know, see where that takes us. So I'm going to start with an ISO wine tasting glass, international standards, standard wine tasting glass. I'm not going to do a lot with it. I mean, obviously these are cool, so, but the coffee's hot, so I'm not overly upset about warming them up and stuff. But now, what it does compared to this is the aromas are very dull in it. Against the big receptacle, it's a bit dull. I'm not overly impressed with that one, if I'm honest. So this is an ISO glass, but slightly larger. So a little bit more in there. Okay, aromas are far more pungent on that one. You get far more of them come through. I'm using the El Salvador Los Amates that I've just used in my mug because yeah, because it was to hand, but also it's got a lot of aromatics going on, and I'm guessing these are going to open up the aromatics, so there was a little bit of reason for it being that one too. Okay. That opens up the flavours. Okay, this is kind of working. It's still not as good as the porcelain. I mean, this is one thing that I haven't really thought about very much, is whether it could be that it's it's not so much, it could be more the material than anything, but, you know, we've got to start somewhere with this. So I'm going to start with the bubbly one. So this is the one for champers and alike, because it's a fairly small opening like these ones, and I'm thinking build up to the big openings, which may have more of a impact. Okay, that changes the aromatics again. Oh my, changes it completely. Absolutely changes the taste big time. Far more acidity in that one than there was in either of those two. Big time different. So moving along, so I want to try and keep these at the same temperature if I can. In fact, I wonder if I run across now, they will all be at the same temperature, won't they then? Excuse me standing off camera. Okay, that's got to be better. That one so far has had the biggest impact for me. The acidity is just so much more brighter. I guess these three are fairly similar shapes, and I'll show you, sorry because they're off camera. So these three are fairly similar shapes, whereas the flute, the champagne flute, has really changed it. That's been the biggest change for me so far. So let's get these similar shaped ones out of the way. So far I've used a Zinfandel, an ISO, and this one is a Sauvignon Blanc or dessert wine glass. So not so much the aromatics, but definitely a big change on the taste. And the way I'm sticking them forwards is that these ones I like the change, these ones I don't so much. This one is a Chablis. Two similar shape to these ones, they're all very much of a muchness. So now we're going to start getting on to the interesting ones. So this one is a Syrah. Whoa, big body. Taken lots of the acidity away, but it's really changed the body of the coffee. This is incredible. I'm really pleased with this so far, because this was something I was hoping would happen, but you're never quite sure. Bordeaux one, and then I was looking at the Syrah and the Bordeaux are very similar. I guess this one's more elongated and not quite as big a bowl at the bottom, but that one, I don't like the Bordeaux one as much. It almost brings out some of the bitters. So this one is a Burgundy, the first one I ever bought of these Riedels, and it really did change it. Interesting. That brings out the sweetness, but not so much of the body. So that's far more for the sweetness coming through. This is the Vigneum Montserrat. Vigneum means wine, it's the Montserrat. I'm not so sold on that one, it takes some of the depth away. But basically what I found is these four glasses actually change the coffee's perception for the better. Now what I would like to do, excuse me doing this midway through. Oh, pardon me. Too much coffee. Way too much coffee today. So, I'm going to do a quick run along and finish on the mug and find out which one I think kind of I like. So, I love that one. I like it. I like that one too. Not so much. I think in order. The Burgundy one I've really started to like a lot as it's cooled a little. I think that is a phenomenal way of tasting coffee. I don't know whether it should be, but that just makes a coffee that isn't that acidic and isn't that bright. It has some very tight, very controlled acidity. Makes it completely different. That's amazing. Those two are probably different ends of the spectrum. Now, where this was taking me was I use a different mug every week for in my mug. Now, the properties of all the coffee is still there to be seen, but is there a way of making the perfect receptacle, the perfect mug, the perfect demi-tasse, the perfect, I don't know. And what I found really interesting is that these, where they're much thinner, or this, where it's much more bulbous and bigger, seem to change the flavours. Whereas these, the ISO one for sure, the Zinfandel one I didn't like. I'm surprised I didn't like the Montserrat. I might actually take another look at that one. It just makes it really sweet. Perhaps what I need to do next is to sit down with these and actually go, okay, have like sweet body, I don't know, think of some parameters. But an interesting start to the project, and there's definitely some legs in it, I think. The receptacle does make a difference. I think we'll be doing a bit more with this, but yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.